I am Sophy Romvari. I'm the writer and director of Blue Heron. I mean, I think with short films, I personally feel like they're not the most effective tool for narrative storytelling. I think most of the short films that I like are nonfiction, documentary, or hybrid, or something that is not based on you telling a story from the beginning to the end, unless it's very, very simple. I think so many short films try to do so much more, and I think that honestly that effort is better put into a feature because there's so much time and effort that goes into like casting a short narrative film and to creating all these parameters that you need actually for a feature film. So it's like, okay, well, why not just like stretch your shoot out to like a week and then make it into a feature? But I think there's also many short films that do get, you can tell they're stretched into a feature. So you just have to know the appropriate medium for the story you want to tell, or for the content that you're interested in elaborating on artistically. Because I think a lot of people muddle those two things. And so all of my shorts were really not story-based, not narratively based, whereas Blue Heron, I actually was really, really hell-bent on getting the script right. I made a lot of short films that didn't need a lot of resources because they were based around things I already had access to, were oftentimes shot in my own apartment or a friend's apartment. I was working with a cinematographer who was very savvy and had a lot of creative ideas around how to do things, you know, with a very limited budget. And I think my shorts were much more conceptually based than like production value based. They were not like, and they all, you know, they all are professionally shot, but I just mean they don't have like science fiction elements or like things that would involve a bigger crew. Pumpkin Movie was a movie that a short that I made that was not ever really meant for festivals. It was just part of this online omnibus of short films for Halloween. And a programmer at a festival in Missouri, Chris Bachman, saw it online and he programmed it at True False, which is a festival in Missouri which is known for programming like hybrid films that focus on documentary and nonfiction. And that, I think, did really change the trajectory of my career, honestly, because it put me in a position of meeting other filmmakers that were working in the same mode of filmmaking. And a lot of the people I met at that year in 2018 are still the friends that I have and people that I can like call when I'm like, what should I do about this, you know, investor or this programmer or this or that? And it's just like sharing resources, watching other people's movies, finding stuff you actually connect with, and then spending time talking to people who you genuinely feel like a kinship with as other artists. Because I think about the way people pose it oftentimes is networking, and I'm like, this is the worst term ever, and like no artist should be good at that, or be asked to be good at that. And it's like, you picture like sitting around with a glass of wine and trying to make small talk, and I'm like, that's not what it is. Oftentimes it's you meeting people at at your Q&A, and then you have like a filmmaker lounge, and then you end up hanging out, and then you all pile into a car and you end up getting late night food, like whatever, it's more like that. That's not networking. That's just like summer camp. Yeah, I think this is a recent revelation for me. I'm like, this is a big part of what has made me feel like this film is being embraced, is I actually had a community that was already there, ready to like receive the feature once it was ready. So I feel very lucky for that. I think the most important thing is really making sure that when you are crewing up, that every single person you hire, you meet them in person, that you trust them, that there's a sense of an understanding of what it is that you want to achieve together. And I think it made a huge difference to the atmosphere of the set that everyone I worked with and everyone that we hired was completely on board with the project, and not just as a job. Like everyone had their own self-determination, something they wanted to prove as an artist themselves. And it was a pretty small crew. It was like 17 people total. And so it was very minimal, the number of people and stuff. So everyone really had a job. Like no one was sitting around like waiting for the day to end. And I think it made a big difference to the working atmosphere, because everyone felt like a purpose and everyone was really motivated. I mean, I think it's very important to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who want to work with you and to support you. And, that can change over time, and it can also be something that you reassess. Like, and every project has different needs as well, but I think once you lock in with people that you feel like confident are on the same page, like it's a very special thing. I made it with a lot of close friends. Like, if they weren't close friends before, they are now. So it's like, like my editor, Kurt, is like one of my closest friends and has been for 10, 15 years. And he's also a filmmaker. And Maya, my cinematographer, like lives down the street from me, and she's like family to me now. And like, I go over and see her and her husband and her 2 little kids all the time. And Maria, the costume designer, is happens to be Kurt's partner, but is also one of my closest friends now. And Victoria, the production designer, is just like an angel, and we've become such close friends as well. It's just like it really was a process of like working with people that I already cared about, but then through the process of making this film, it just like opened something up in all of us. And I think we were so in alignment, and so I don't know, it's just like right place, right time or something. But like it was very special, and I feel like that is why the film is resonating with people, because it's so corny, but was made with a lot of love. I think it's a really great opportunity to reformat the way that you think a film is supposed to be made, and just say, how do I want to make films? And for me, I want to enjoy it. I want everyone else to enjoy it. I want it to be a memorable experience, not just because of the outcome of the film, but because of the process of making it. And I feel really lucky that I can say that I think everyone that worked on this film does feel that way, because including the kids, because that was a big part of my goal, was to make sure that these kids had a great time. And so I think the atmosphere is like maybe the most important thing, is just making sure you're not taking yourself so seriously that you forget that everyone's giving so much to you in the process of making the work, because people can lose their minds thinking like, oh, this is my vision and blah blah blah. It's just like, no, it's meant to be. It's not that serious. Like, it's a movie, at the end of the day. Watch as many movies as you can from all across history. Try to do things that are not just related to film, like meet people, do things, other art forms, live life. Because I think when you're young, you think you know everything. You don't. You need perspective, so you need to get out and have experiences, like date people, have friends, like don't just obsess about film, because that's what's going to give you a perspective on life, like it's actually living your life. And I think if I made this film in my 20s, it would be a lot less interesting, because I would have less perspective than I have now in my 30s. So, and so in 2021, I started really taking it seriously, writing the script, and I spent, on and off the next couple of years writing and doing other little gigs and editing, and I once again work in a movie theater. So just like I'm always just piecing it together. My biggest skill is just like not waiting around for the perfect opportunity if I have an idea, because I didn't get funding the first time I applied in Canada. I was shortlisted, but then I was like, well, I'm gonna make this film anyway, and so I started working on it, and then I reapplied, and then I got it the next year, and by that time I had already started casting, and I already developed the script a bunch more, and so I don't think. It's such an annoying thing, but it's like you can't really take no for an answer. You just have to like continue to do the things you can do with the resources you have, and kind of trust that the rest will come. I just saw this quote from, I think it was it maybe Nora Ephron, saying like, don't write for what they want, they don't know what they want, which I think is great, because it's like you can't predetermine the outcome of a film, like what people will connect with or not, because people can say like, oh, you have to have Reese Witherspoon in your movie, but it's like, she's been in many movies that, not she, people, big actors are in movies that don't always do well. It doesn't mean that movie will connect to people. Try lots of different things and try different modes of filmmaking, and I think a lot of what I was doing was trying to find different approaches to how to create like an authentic or naturalistic aesthetic without it being I think like all of the directing that I did in Blue Heron came from the fact that I did all these different exercises in these short films of how to access naturalism through performance, through camera placement, and it's just really like by the repetition of just making different films that were very emotionally based and not script or narrative based, allowed me to then transition into scripted with a more confident like background in this craft. Yeah, film festivals are really important for getting your work out there, but also meeting people that are in the same stage of career and life as you. I think that was a really helpful part of the process for me, was when I was making my short films, which were all very small, no budget short films really, and playing festivals was what made me feel like I was actually in sort of an international community of filmmakers. But I'd really recommend going to as many as you can. What's $500 going to, get me otherwise? Can it get me to this festival? Yes. Well, then I'll go, and then I can meet people and be in community with people who are trying to live this like really difficult but exciting lifestyle only be a filmmaker if it's absolutely what you need and have to do with your life, because it's way too hard otherwise. Way too hard. And I enjoy it, I love it, and I'm so glad, but like I know there's some people that it's just an uphill battle because they don't even really love the process of filmmaking, and I'm like, well, why the fuck would you do it? You know, because it's so hard. It's so hard. Even if you love it, it's hard.
Absolutely.
So that's my take.
Thank you.